Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Double Tap, a Hong Kong thriller action hybrid from 2000 that stars Leslie Cheung and Alex Fong. Leslie Cheung plays Rick Pang, a shooting champion who is also a gun expert. He likes to tinker with his pistols and has perfected the technique known as double tap, which is the terminology for a shooter placing two shots near the same exact spot to maximize marksmanship in any competition. In a shooting competition, he goes up against another experienced top cop, played by Alex Fong, who is just as comfortable on the pistols as Rick is. And after the competition, murders are starting to be committed by an unknown gunman who uses a similar double tap technique, and the list of possible suspects is narrowed down by the cops. So this starts with a pretty lengthy opening sequence at a target range, where various competitions are held. I like movie scenes that take place at shooting ranges or shooting contests. One of the obvious examples is the Clint Eastwood film Magnum Force, which had a few really good scenes on the shooting competition stuff. That's one of like the classic examples of how this can benefit a film. In Double Tap, we get some instructional advice from Leslie Cheung's character, mostly involving gun shooting and gun alterations. And some of the guns they use in this movie look pretty cool. They look pretty slick and kind of tricked out. There's also some discussion on criminal psychology from Alex Fong's character before being treated to their shooting competition. Now, early on, the story kind of sets itself up as a dramatic thriller. But after the shooting competition ends, the plot shifts to a more action-oriented thriller involving a serial killer. And during the opening half, it's a little bit difficult to figure out who's going to be the good guy and who's going to be the bad guy. And I enjoy that aspect of the film. And remember, I never watch trailers for this stuff, so I'm not even sure if the trailer spoils it for you or not. But in terms of action, there are a few good shootouts in this. The violence is a little bit more visceral and bloody than you might expect. Because sometimes in movies with guns, you barely see anything when someone gets shot, right? They just kind of grab their chest and keel over. But in Double Tap, it ain't like that. It's not like that in this. You see people get shot. And so that element adds an edge and an intensity to the movie without getting gratuitous, And it also helps to showcase the killer's merciless tactics. Now, this was directed by Bruce Law, who has made a few interesting movies, despite a fairly small filmography. He co-directed Viva Erotica and lead-directed Inner Senses and Coma, which are two pretty good kind of horror thriller flicks. Now, one odd thing about Double Tap is that I really did not care that much about the characters, but I was still engaged with the conflict. Both lead actors do a good job from a performance standpoint, and whatever dramatic emotion that does emerge in the film comes from those two. However, when some of the side characters started dying, I felt nothing for these dudes. And I'm one of those guys who usually, ends up really liking one or two side characters in a good movie. But that's not really the case here. But despite that, the movie works quite well overall. And I do like the main theme of the film, which is pretty interesting. It's kind of like getting a taste for blood, is I guess what you could call it. And I remember, when I was a kid back in the day, I remember stories from family members who would talk about their grandparents. And I remember someone told me that their grandfather was a farmer. And in cases where the family dog kills a chicken, the farmer tends to just put the dog down immediately. Because once it gets a taste for blood, it can become difficult to retrain it. You know what I mean? And that's essentially the premise for Double Tap, only they apply it to human beings. You know what I mean? If a certain person is forced to kill another person, say in self-defense or for whatever reason, they might become addicted to that sensation and continue killing people. And it's kind of an interesting little play on that type of thing. And I did enjoy the theme of the film. So generally speaking, if you're in the mood for a turn of the century thriller action hybrid from Hong Kong that has a pretty good script to it and has some overall good qualities to it. I do recommend Double Tap. I think it's a good flick. And you can find it, I think, streaming and on physical media. And as always, we will see you next time.